I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating, especially not after we'd been together for over 10 years. Sarah always seemed like she was the perfect wife, beautiful, smart, a little bitchy sometimes, but that was just her attitude. We had a decent life, a nice house, 2 kids, and I was working my ass off to provide for everything. Honestly, I believed we had a good thing going, until I started noticing little things that didn't sit right. At first, I thought I was just imagining things. She'd be more irritable than usual, snapping at me for no reason, canceling plans last minute, and her phone kept going off more than usual. She'd hide her texts quickly or turn away when I looked her way. I brushed it off as stress. She was always bitchy when she was stressed. But then, I noticed her suddenly becoming more secretive with her phone, hiding it even when I was in the room. She would excuse herself to the bathroom or the laundry room, claiming she was just checking her emails or texts from her friends. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe she was hiding a girl squad chat or something. But then I started noticing her spending more time in the basement, which was our designated man cave space. She'd go down there for hours, and I'd hear her giggling or talking on the phone. I never thought much about it because maybe she was just catching up with friends or watching TV. She was always bitchy when I asked her what she was doing, giving me sarcastic answers or just ignoring me entirely. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. One night I was coming home early from a meeting. I always try to support her in her sobriety, and I've been working hard on my own recovery too. When I opened the door to the basement, I was expecting to see her watching TV or maybe on her laptop. Instead, I froze. There was Sarah in our basement, wrapped around the guy I knew as my sponsor, Kevin. I recognized him immediately because he's the guy who's been helping me through my recovery, the one who's been encouraging me, supporting me, and I trusted him. I saw his hand on her thigh, her head tilted back with that fake-ass smile she always gives when she's pretending to be innocent. It was like a punch to the gut. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Kevin, my sponsor, the guy I confided in about my sobriety, was fucking my wife, and she was moaning softly like it was some kind of secret she was hiding from the world. I just stood there, stunned, unable to move or speak. My mind was racing, trying to process this betrayal. By her, by Kevin, by everything I thought I knew about our life. The room was silent except for that sickening sound of her voice and his breathing. It was unreal. I wanted to yell, to confront them right then and there, but my feet felt like they were glued to the floor. I just stared, feeling my blood boil and my stomach turn. How could she do this? After everything, after all the nights I was out working late, fighting my own demons, trusting her to be faithful, she's over there cheating on me with my sponsor, the guy who was supposed to help me stay sober. I felt a mixture of shock, rage, and that deep, hollow feeling that comes from knowing you've been played. I did want to believe it, but the evidence was right there in front of me. I stood there frozen, trying to get my head around what I was seeing. My wife, Sarah, was in our basement with Kevin, and they were fully engaged in what looked like a passionate affair. Her head was thrown back, her lips parted, and Kevin was pressed up against her, hands all over her. I could see the way she was moaning softly, acting like it was just another meaningless hookup, but I knew better. I knew that look, that body language. It was real, it was raw, and it was happening in my house behind my back. For a few seconds I just stared, trying to process the betrayal. Then everything hit me all at once. The anger, the hurt, the humiliation. My fists clenched, my jaw tightened, and I felt my stomach churn. How long had this been going on? Did she think she could hide it from me forever? I was trying to breathe, trying to stay calm, but inside I was burning. I'd trusted her, I'd supported her sobriety, and she was out there screwing around with my sponsor. I realized I had to make a choice. I couldn't just walk away and pretend I didn't see anything. I couldn't let her get away with this. But I also knew that if I stormed down there and confronted them now, things would only escalate into a fight, something I wasn't ready for, especially not in that moment. Instead, I slowly backed out of the basement, my heart pounding in my chest. I shut the door quietly, intending to come back with a plan. I needed to think. As I moved away from the basement, my mind was racing. I kept replaying what I saw, trying to find some way to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. I remembered her phone, how she kept hiding it, how she'd lie about what she was doing. I knew I had to find proof if I was going to confront her properly. So I started searching through her things, rifling through her purse and the bathroom drawers. I wasn't proud of it, but I had to be sure. That's when I found the messages. Her phone was open in her purse, and I saw texts from Kevin, flirty, suggestive, downright dirty. I scrolled through them and my stomach dropped even further. There were plans to meet, promises to keep it secret, words that confirmed everything I'd seen in the basement. I couldn't believe she'd been lying to me for months. The worst part was she had the nerve to call me paranoid or insecure when I brought up her odd behavior. That bitch had been sneaking around, hiding her affair, and I'd been blind to it. My hands were shaking as I read those texts. A flood of emotions came crashing down. Betrayal, rage, heartbreak. I felt so stupid for trusting her, for thinking we had a solid marriage. I thought about all the nights I stayed up late working, all the sober meetings I attended, all the times I opened up about my struggles, and she was out there screwing my sponsor. The man who was supposed to be helping me stay sober, helping me keep my life together. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just cheating. This was a punch straight to the heart of everything I believed in. After I read those messages, everything changed. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach and then kicked while I was down. The shock was still settling. But underneath it all, a boiling fury started to take hold. I couldn't believe she'd lied to my face, acted like everything was fine, while she was sneaking around with Kevin behind my back. The man who was supposed to be there for me, the one I looked up to for support in my recovery, betraying me like that. It's like the last shred of trust I had just evaporated. I knew I couldn't confront her right then. My mind was spinning so fast I needed a plan. I needed to see her reaction when I had all the evidence, when I was ready. So I quietly slipped out of the house, locking the door behind me. I went for a walk, trying to clear my head, but honestly I was just packing in anger. I didn't understand how she could be so cold, so manipulative. She's always been bitchy, yeah, but I never thought she'd stoop to cheating on me with someone I trusted so deeply. It wasn't long before I decided I had to confront her face to face. I couldn't keep hiding from the truth. I didn't want her to think she could lie and get away with it. That night, I went back home and I waited until she was in bed. I took my phone, my evidence, and prepared to finally ask her what the hell was going on. I wasn't planning on just yelling, though I admit, part of me wanted to. I wanted her to see how much she'd hurt me. When I finally woke her up to talk, she looked annoyed and bitchy as always. I could see she was trying to play innocent, like I was overreacting or paranoid. She acted like she had no idea what I was talking about when I threw the messages in her face. Her eyes flicked and darted and she tried to brush it off, calling it nothing, just a stupid mistake or a misunderstanding. She kept lying, insisting Kevin was just helping her with some project or that I was jealous and insecure. She was so good at lying I almost believed her at first. Almost. But I knew better. I knew those words were bullshit. The way she kept twisting the story, the way she kept denying everything, made me see just how much she was willing to lie to protect herself. I felt a mix of disgust and heartbreak. I've been so naive thinking she was faithful all these years, that she was just bitchy or stressed when she snapped at me, not cheating on me with my sponsor. And Kevin, my guy, someone I trusted, was right there betraying everything we believed in. I could feel my fists clenching again, but I stayed calm. I knew I had to keep control, even if I wanted to tear her apart right then and there. The worst part is, she kept gaslighting me, trying to make me doubt my own eyes, my own instincts. She kept saying I was overthinking, that I was crazy, that I was making shit up. That's when I realized she's the type who will lie her way out of anything. And I did everything I could to hold back tears, anger, and just pure betrayal. I told her I knew what she was doing, that I had seen enough, and that I wasn't going to stand for her bullshit anymore, that I was done listening to her lies. But inside I felt shattered, like I'd lost my best friend, my partner, and someone I trusted completely. The confrontation didn't go the way I'd hoped or expected. She kept denying everything, saying she loved me, that Kevin was just a friend, and that I was blowing things out of proportion. Her tone was bitchy and dismissive, like she thought she could just talk her way out of it. She threw in a few classic lines: "You're paranoid. You always overreact, and you're just insecure." I could see the smirk on her face like she believed she had the upper hand, but I wasn't buying it anymore. Part of me wanted to blow up, scream, break things, but I knew that wouldn't accomplish anything productive. Instead, I kept my voice steady, cold even. I told her I'd seen enough, that I knew about her affair with Kevin and that I wasn't going to be played for a fool anymore. I told her I wanted her out of the house, that I needed some space to think. Her eyes narrowed and she started calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting, that I was making it all up to control her. That really pissed me off. She threw some more lies at me, trying to turn everything around. Said Kevin was just helping her with her sobriety, that they were just friends, and that I was jealous or insecure because I didn't trust her. That she'd never betray me, that she'd never cheat with someone I trusted so much. But I could see right through her deception. Her whole attitude reeked of guilt and manipulation. I knew she was trying to gaslight me, but I wasn't having it anymore. I told her to get out, that I didn't want to see her face again until she could be honest. She packed a bag and left in a huff, yelling that I was overreacting, that I'd ruin everything, that I was just jealous because I couldn't handle her success or her independence. I watched her walk out the door, feeling a mixture of relief and devastation. I'd finally confronted her, but the pain was overwhelming. I kept thinking about how long she'd been lying, how she'd been sneaking around with Kevin behind my back, and how I'd practically been blind to it all. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the whole scene, feeling the betrayal like a dull ache that wouldn't go away. I started questioning everything about our marriage, about trust, about her. I wondered how many times she'd lied, how many nights she'd been with Kevin, and whether I'd ever really known her at all. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and sick. But deep down, I knew I had to move on from this, even if part of me still hoped it wasn't true. I had to face the reality that Sarah was not who I thought she was, and that breaking trust was something I might never recover from. The days that followed were a blur. I stayed in the house, alone most of the time, trying to make sense of everything. The house felt cold and empty without her. Every room echoed with memories of happier times, which now only served to remind me of what I'd lost. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and every time I closed my eyes I saw her with Kevin, heard her voice moaning in the basement, felt that sickening sense of betrayal all over again. I started losing faith in everything I believed about our marriage. How could someone I trusted so much turn out to be this manipulative, lying bitch? How could Kevin, the guy I looked up to for help, be involved in this? It was like my entire world was crashing down around me. I kept replaying every moment, the signs I missed, the times I brushed off my gut instincts, the little things I thought were innocent but were actually clues. It's funny how your mind works in such situations. You start obsessing, trying to find the truth, trying to understand how I got played like this. Despite the pain, I knew one thing: I couldn't stay in limbo forever. I had to decide what I was going to do next. Was I going to fight for my marriage? Could we ever come back from this kind of betrayal? Or was it better to cut my losses, walk away, and start over? It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, and honestly, I felt like I was barely hanging on by a thread. One thing I knew for sure was that I had to get rid of Kevin out of my life. I couldn't trust him anymore, not just because he betrayed me by messing around with Sarah, but because he was supposed to be my sponsor, helping me stay sober. Instead, he turned around and did this. It was like a double slap in the face. I started drafting a message to him, telling him exactly how I felt, how deeply disappointed I was, and that I'd never want to see him again. I didn't want to hear his excuses, didn't want to listen to his lies. He was dead to me now. As for Sarah, I knew I couldn't just forget what happened. I had to confront her again, face her lies, and decide if I could even forgive her, if I wanted to. But every time I thought about it, a wave of anger and sadness hit me. I felt like I was drowning in this mess, unsure whether I could ever trust her again or if the damage was too deep. The betrayal ran so deep that I wondered if I'd ever feel whole again. I was angry at her, humiliated, and honestly, I was starting to see that I'd been a fool for so long, believing in a fairy tale version of us. Now, all I had left was this broken shell of a marriage, and I didn't know if I had the strength to fix it or if I should just walk away and start fresh. In the end, I made my decision. I realized I couldn't keep living in this cloud of betrayal and lies. I packed her things while she was at work, didn't even tell her I was doing it. I just wanted to get her out of my house, out of my life, and away from the mess she created. When she came home and saw her bags by the door, she lost it, started bitching and screaming, calling me every name in the book, trying to guilt me into letting her stay. But I stood my ground. I told her I'd had enough of her lies, enough of Kevin's betrayal, and that I was done pretending everything was okay. The hardest part was looking her in the eyes and knowing I'd trusted her for so long, only to find out she'd been lying the entire time. It hurt more than I can put into words. I felt like I'd lost a part of myself, a piece I'd never get back. But I also knew that staying would only prolong the pain, dragging it out would make it worse. So I told her she needed to leave, and I made her understand that this was the end of us. No reconciliation, no second chances, just a clean break. Since she left, I've been trying to rebuild. It's been tough. I've gone to therapy, talked to friends, and tried to process what happened. I've learned a lot about myself, how trusting blindly can get you hurt, how manipulation and betrayal can come from the people you least expect, and how sometimes you have to walk away to save what's left of your sanity. I won't lie, I still feel angry and hurt, but I also feel a strange sense of relief, like I finally took control back from the chaos. Looking back, I realize there are some lessons here. Never ignore your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's damn hard to repair. And most importantly, don't be afraid to walk away from a toxic situation, no matter how much it hurts. I thought I loved her, but loving someone also means knowing when to let go if they're doing you more harm than good. Now I focus on myself. I've started to rebuild my life, focus on my sobriety, and spend time with the kids. They're the only reason I get out of bed some days. I still think about what happened, how I was blindsided by someone I believed in. But I've come to accept that not all betrayals are recoverable, and that sometimes walking away is the only way to find peace. I hope my story helps someone else see the signs early, trust their instincts, and never stay in a toxic situation out of fear or hope that things will get better. Because sometimes they won't, and that's okay.